Welcome to the Portland Board of Public Education inauguration. I would like to call the inauguration to order. It's Monday, December 6th, and we're meeting in a blended format with some people in person at Casco Bay High School and others joining via Zoom. Mr. Superintendent, will you please call the roll?
Once again, Ms. Bondo.
Présente.
Mr. Burke.
Here.
Senor Rodriguez.
Presente.
Ms. Russell Better.
Here.
Ms. Trevorrow.
Here.
Mr. Youssef.
Here.
Ms. Yangala.
Yes, I'm here.
And Chair Figdor.
Here. Thank you all. We are going to begin tonight with the Star-Spangled Banner performed by the Portland Public Schools High School Orchestra under the direction of Mrs. Julianne Eberall.
And the flag is to our left here.
Excellent, thank you. And now Gavin Burke, a third grader at Rowe Elementary School, will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Gavin, will you come to the front?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great job, Gavin. Thank you so much. Next, my daughter Harper Beal, a fifth grader at Reiki Community School, will acknowledge the land we're on. Harper, will you come up?
To open today's inauguration ceremony, we want to acknowledge that the City of Portland and the Portland Public Schools sits on the land of the Abenaki, Maliseet, Micmac, Passamaquoddy, and Penobscot peoples of the past and present, most collectively known as Wabanaki or people of the Dawnland. We acknowledge the painful history of genocide and forced removal from this territory. We remember and honor their connection to this region and give thanks for the opportunity to live, learn, and work in their traditional homelands.
Thank you so much, Harper. Now for my final remarks to the 2020-2021 school board. To my fellow board members, I want to first say how truly honored I am to have worked with and served each of you, as well as you, Superintendent Batana. Together, we led this district through an intensely challenging year, excruciating really at times, due to the constantly evolving pandemic, the resulting trauma of our students and staff, and now the acute labor shortage. And on top of all of that, we endured an election season in which our work was heavily politicized. And yet we rigorously followed the science on how to protect our students, staff, and school communities from COVID-19, and our mitigation measures are working. Each day this school year, we have educated our approximately 6,500 students in person 5 days a week with minimal disruptions to learning. Let's be clear, that has been possible thanks only to the Herculean efforts of our staff, as well as those of our students and families. Through it all, we did not stray from our focus on or drive to become a more equitable school district. Instead, our COVID plans centered around equity. And we passed a historic equity budget, as well as numerous cutting-edge policies to respond to and redress inequities in our school system. We also took further steps to implement equity policies that the board passed last year by putting resources behind them. I want to catalog some of that for you now to remind you of the progress we've made from a budget and policy standpoint. In our historic equity budget, we invested in our LAU plan to provide a more equitable education to our English language learners. We strengthened the district's ability to hire and support a diverse workforce by establishing a human resources position to lead the recruitment and recruitment as well as affinity supports for educators of colors. We compensated our diverse staff appropriately for linguistic and identity-based work they perform, and we've created pathways to career development for our diverse staff. We provided the resources to effectively implement our 2020 harassment, sexual harassment, and discrimination policy, including stipends for school-based liaisons and creating the position of an ombudsman. We prioritized core instruction for equity and rigor through Wabanaki and Africana studies and a continuation of our math and literacy equity work. And we affirmed the district's commitment to developing staff capacity to become an anti-racist institution by shifting the cost of the district's Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion from philanthropic grants to the district's budget. So that was the budget. We also passed these key policies. In February, we passed a policy to ensure that all of our students' gender and sexual identities are recognized, seen, and honored. In May, we moved back start times for middle school and high school students to better align our school days with the science of adolescent development. In June, we passed our new overarching equity policy, which defines equity as all people being held to high expectations and having access to opportunities that are reflective of their individual needs, identities, and experiences. The policy serves as a guide by which to evaluate all of our other policies, practices, and procedures throughout the district. In October, we passed new policies clarifying the role of law enforcement in our district that disentangle school discipline from law enforcement. Last month, we passed recommendations to the Charter Commission designed to make our municipal government and decisions on school matters more democratic and participatory, and to put the board on a more equal footing with the City Council. All the while, we have kept the buildings for our future elementary school renovations on track through many hurdles. Lyseth Elementary School is now finished and truly transformed, and the renovations are underway at Reiki, Longfellow, and Presumpscot. Now, I know none of us is satisfied by the pace of change, far, far from it, because our students and staff of color are barely, if at all, yet feeling the impacts of these investments and policy changes. But addressing systemic inequities does not happen overnight, and we have a lot more to do. We've just begun this journey, but I hope each of you feels proud about the investments we've made and the policies we've passed. None of it would have been possible without the superintendent's leadership team, which in most cases played a central role in developing the policies and initiatives and is now tasked with implementing them. And I also want to recognize the strong support of our community in this work. We are so fortunate to live in a city that deeply values public education and supports our equity focus. As I close, I want to say what a true honor it has been to do this work alongside you. Each of you has shaped our work in numerous different ways, and I'm so indebted to you for your commitment, grace, intellect, creativity, and unwavering vision of a more equitable school district. Thank you. So now we get to recognize our outgoing board members one last time. And we're going to start with Mr. Rodriguez, who is going to recognize our outgoing student board members. Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Every year, our student representatives serve as a strong reminder of the purpose for our work here as a school board, to always place the interests of our students first. Our policy is intended to bring student voice into our decision making so that our outcomes represent the concerns and needs of our students. And so I want to commend all of our student reps for their participation this year. And I want to commend the board for doing what we can to engage them in this work. It is fundamentally, like I said, what we want to achieve with the student representatives is to have them enrich our context and ultimately improve the conditions and improve the work that we're delivering at the buildings. I would just finish by saying that I want the school board to continue to strengthen that program and to have the students' difficult challenges in their schedules be considered in how we implement their roles here. I think that a blanket strategy for having them show up to our meetings is wonderful. But again, to enrich the work that we're doing, we want to make sure that we work with them closely. So I'd encourage the board to continue to work on that and to truly bring out the value of having student voice at a governing body. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rodriguez. Next, we're going to move to Ms. Bondo, who I'd like to invite to recognize Ms. Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's really awkward recognizing an empty chair, so I hope Ms. Thompson, she's there and watching. And so I think I spoke last time and while she was here about a relationship that we have created during my first term, the 3 years. And I think we have learned from each other the different values, then we're standing, but at the end, we come out and we have different ways to reach our goals, but the value was almost the same, like really caring about the students, caring about the staff. So all your years of public services, we just want to recognize you, Ms. Thompson, and just to say thank you. Thank you for everything you have accomplished. Thank you for everything you have advocated for, and we have learned a lot from you. So we're wishing you all the best for the years to come. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Bondo. Now I have the deep honor of recognizing Mr. Rodriguez. Roberto, this board, so sorry, I'm going to try and do this without crying because Roberto means so much to me. So, Roberto, this board admires you to the moon and back. We admire your courage, your authenticity, and how deeply insightful you are. I personally have learned more from you and about things that truly matter to me than anyone else in this city, and I'm so lucky to call you a friend. You leave huge shoes for us to try and fill. At every hard moment or an easy moment that shouldn't be easy, it's not just me who is going to be thinking, what would Roberto say? What would Roberto do? How would Roberto lead us? I'm going to be asking those questions myself constantly because we can't lose your insistence on doing the right thing, even when it's the much harder thing. What would Roberto say? What would Roberto do? How would Roberto lead us? You've also been a beacon to students and staff of color, but they, like us, know that the inequities that we're working to root out are beyond what any school district can solve alone. And now you are a co-conspirator in City Hall, or just in a few hours you will be. And we are so happy to have you there. Roberto, thank you. You are truly an inspiration, and I cannot wait to work with you on the council. So that is the end of our recognitions. Do any of the outgoing...
We've missed one, Chair.
Ms. Trevorrow.
Oh, Adam, Board Member Burke, I'm so sorry. I just jumped right over you and Ms. Trevorrow, and I deeply apologize, Ms. Trevorrow. So, Board Member Burke, will you please go forward with your recognition of Ms. Trevorrow?
Of course, thanks, Chair. Anna, you've been a steadfast member of this board since you were first elected. And as the superintendent has noted, as you leave, you'll be the last board member that was here at the time of his hire. And I think this speaks to your place as a bridge between paradigms in Portland Public Schools. With your thoughtful approach rooted in your values, you came to this work with both ideals and pragmatism. You were careful to learn and listen along the way, as well as remain true to yourself. And like any good public servant, and I think you'll agree with this, you've been both changed as well as contributed to change as part of your time on the school board. Based on feedback I received in preparation for today, I want you to know that your colleagues here are strong references for your character and professionalism as you head off to your new position with the City Council. All have commented on your thoughtful and measured approach, which has brought grace to many conversations and processes, as has your ability to listen, ask good questions, and your positive attitude. We each have a story of you helping us learn in our roles, whether it's chair of the board or chair of the finance committee. And you always patiently took the time to help each of us individually, as well as in meetings, to understand the work and context of it all so we could do our best work. Lastly, and I think perhaps one of your greatest strengths, is your ability to recognize people. This has shown itself in two distinct ways. The first is recognizing the skills and potentials individuals have and helping them to see it in themselves. This has led to your peers to take on roles they would not have envisioned for themselves and more. And secondly, you recognize people within groups where bias and conditioning would tend to intentionally exclude and marginalize them. You ensure others are seen instead of erased in this context. And we've seen and experienced this in regards to sex, gender, race, and others, as well as the intersection of these. As you leave today, please know you have fans around this table, and we know we have a champion for Portland Public Schools at City Council, along with others, who is deeply intimate with the current context of public education, our needs and goals, and what it will take to get there. So on behalf of the entire board, congratulations, and we look forward to working with you, Councilwoman Trevorrow.
Thank you so much, Board Member Burke. Okay, now that is the end of our recognitions, and my apologies, Ms. Trevorrow. I was getting ahead of myself. Do any of our outgoing board members want an opportunity to speak? And I cannot see you, so if you do,
Ms. Trevorrow would like to be acknowledged.
Ms. Trevorrow, please go ahead. I actually only see a double of myself, which is very alarming.
Thank you, Chair Figdor. I just briefly wanted to say what an honor it has been to serve with this board, and how I feel that even though I'm leaving the board, and I'm sad to be in so many ways, I feel like the district is in really good hands with this board. We have a board that is unified behind goals that are so important to our time and for our students. And I want to, recognize that the superintendent has really led us in the right direction over the last 5 years. He came on, and the first thing he did was to develop the comprehensive plan, which took an effort of investigating who we are as an organization, what are our values, and then to put goals behind those so that they became the driving force for all of our work. And that was a real shift, I think, for the work of this board in terms of policy and direction, and really recognizing the needs of our student body. So I can't say enough about the work that he has done in his time here. And thank you, Chair Figdor, for your last year of service and for being willing to continue on in the next year. You have led with such dignity and fortitude, and it has been a one special kind of a year to have served in that capacity. So I want to acknowledge your exceptional work. Thank you.
Mr. Rodriguez would like to be acknowledged.
Thank you so much, Ms. Trevorrow, and let's move to Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll keep it real brief. I was really grateful for the opportunity. At our last meeting, we had a ceremony or a short gathering, and I did share some thoughts. So I guess briefly, I would just say that it really has been a privilege and an honor to serve on the school board and with so many great public servants over the last 5 years. I too saw a lot of turnover on the board through that time, and I learned so much from my colleagues. I spoke really positively of my experience working with the superintendent. I guess the last thing that I did want to spend some time saying today is just recognizing that our schools are fundamentally what connects our communities. Are so many of our networks, so many of our public services, so many of our ways to connect people with each other happens in our schools. Some of that is by design, some of that is just because they're the most logical place to be, but often they're not the most indicated place or the most perfect place for these things to happen. So the board is often having to work in these systems that are really just flawed, fundamentally flawed, and we have to scramble to make decisions where there never seems to be a good one on the table. So we have to choose from poor options. But I'm so grateful for the thoughtfulness that we have working in a flawed system and trying to fill gaps, trying to make sure that we do what we can in this small little district to rise above all of the other pressures and all the other barriers that keep our students and our families from succeeding. And again, recognizing that if our schools thrive, our students and their families thrive, and then our community and our city thrive, and so will our state and our nation. But it starts in bodies like these, in school boards, and local municipal government, and in the connections that we build with our families. I'm fortunate that over the last year, that's been a focus of this board, and as Councilor-elect Trevorrow mentioned, so much of that has been because of the work that the superintendent has put forward, and so much of the work that we've held them accountable to do. I'll leave it with that, just saying that it's been an immense privilege to have been a part of that and to look back at a whole bunch of real amazing work. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rodriguez. Okay, with that, we, to our outgoing board members, thank you for your dedicated service and especially your courageous and relentless work to make Portland a more equitable school district.
And
now,
Madam Chair, we have parting gifts for
excellent.
our board members. So I will just quickly also recognize how much I appreciate working with all of you. It's been a fabulous relationship with this board, and I know it will continue in your new roles in the council. And I'm just incredibly grateful for your partnership for these past 2 years. So let me give you your plaques.
Thank you.
You should also take your nameplate so that the person coming into your seats will know where they're supposed to go. And, again, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. And I do want to apologize for the awkwardness of my being on Zoom tonight. It was not my intention at all, but became a necessity. So I apologize to everyone for the awkwardness.
Okay, so now I think we can have the board members step away and have our new board members approach the dais, and we have the city clerk here, Ms. Jones, to swear them in. So please come on up.
Great. And so if Ms. Biliou and Ms. Bondo can stand in front and face the audience, stand in front near where the superintendent's seat is.
Yes, I'm after. Yeah. So if you would raise your right hands and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I
I do solemnly
that I
swear
will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and of this state,
and of this state,
so long as I
so long as I
shall continue
shall continue
a citizen thereof,
a citizen thereof,
and will faithfully discharge,
and I'll faithfully discharge
to the best of my abilities,
to the best of my abilities
the duties incumbent upon me
the duties incumbent on me
as a member of the Portland School Board,
as a member of the Portland School Board,
according to the said Constitution,
according to the said Constitution,
the laws of the state,
the laws of the state,
and the ordinances of the city.
and the ordinance of the city.
Congratulations.
And now, if the new student representatives, those of you who are attending in person, if you can please go up and stand in front of the superintendent when, excellent.
And if you would raise your right hands and repeat after me, I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and of this state, so long as I shall continue a citizen thereof, and I'll faithfully discharge, to the best of my abilities, the duties incumbent upon me as a student representative, according to the said Constitution, the laws of the state, and the ordinances of the city. Congratulations.
Excellent. And the students, congratulations. You can also, those of you attending in person can take your seats at the dais. And Marwa, are you there?
Yes.
Ms. Jones, we also need Marwa to take our student representative from Casco Bay High School who's joining us via Zoom. We need her to take the oath as well.
Okay, so if you could raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and of this state,
and of the state,
so long as I
so long as I
shall continue
shall continue
a citizen thereof,
a citizen thereof,
and will faithfully discharge,
and will faithfully discharge,
to the best of my abilities,
the best of my abilities,
the duties incumbent upon me
the duties incumbent upon me
as a student representative,
as a student representative,
according to the said Constitution,
according to the said Constitution,
the laws of the state,
laws of the state,
and the ordinances of the city.
and the ordinances of the city.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Marwa. Excellent. So now, Mr. Superintendent, will you please call the roll for the 2021-2022 school board?
Yes, Madam Chair. Ms. Bondo,
Présente.
Mr. Burke,
Here.
Ms. Russell Better,
Here.
Ms. Biliu,
Here.
Mr. Youssef,
Here.
Ms. Aswami,
Here,
Mr. McLaughlin,
Here.
Mr. Alzamili,
Here.
Ms. Santiago,
here,
and Chair Figdor.
Here.
I'm sorry, and Ms. Diu.
Here.
Excellent. Welcome, 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 everyone. Now we'll move to the election of the chairperson for the Portland Board of Public Education for the 2021-2022 year. Consideration and action to take nominations for the chairperson. Is there a nomination?
Yes, I nominate Emily Victor as chair.
Thank you, Mr. Youssef. Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, I'm going to close nominations. Mr. Youssef, will you please speak to the nomination?
Thank you. This is going to be a little bit echo what I said last time. I have been watching the work that Emily has been doing, and this challenge year she's the one that can continue the work that have been started. Emily understands the visions and the goals of our district, and she takes personally our support of our students. So I believe that you are the best who show the scholarship that we need and to continue for this difficult time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Youssef. Are there any questions on the motion? And I can't see hands, so please just go ahead and speak.
I don't see any hands up, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay, seeing none, by roll call vote, please indicate whether you support the appointment of Emily Victor as the Portland Board of Public Education chairperson for 2021-2022. And for the election of chair, we do this vote a little bit differently. You need to state the name of the person you're supporting for chair. It's straightforward in this case since there's only one nomination, so you would just state my name. Mr. Superintendent, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Madam Chair. Ms. Bondo,
Emily Victor.
Mr. Burke,
Emily Figdor.
Ms. Russell Better,
Emily Victor.
Ms. Liu,
Representative Figdor.
Mr. Youssef,
Emily Victor.
Ms. Aswami,
Emily Victor.
Mr. McLaughlin,
Emily Victor.
Mr. Alzamili,
Emily Victor.
Ms. Santiago,
Emily Victor.
Ms. Diu,
Emily Figdor.
and Chair Figdor.
Emily Victor. Okay, always awkward to vote for myself. It is unanimous with the students voting with the majority. Fellow board members, thank you. I'm deeply honored that you are entrusting me with the leadership of this board for a second year. I'll say more about that in a few minutes. But now we are going to move to the Portland Creed, and King Middle School student Justin Iswame will recite for us the Portland Creed.
All right. I am a citizen of Portland, of Maine, and of the United States. It is my right and my duty to make an honest living and to be comfortable and happy. It is my privilege and my honor to help others to secure these benefits. I will work hard and play fair. I'll be kind to all, especially to little children, to old people, to the unfortunate, and to animals. I will help make Portland a clean, beautiful, law-abiding city. These are the best services I can render to my city, my state, and my country.
Thank you so much, Justin. Next, the Portland Public Schools High School Orchestra will perform America the Beautiful under the direction of Mrs. Julianne Eberall. Thank you to our talented students and to Ms. Eberall. It's now time for my inaugural address. So, fellow board members, I am honored and so humbled that you are entrusting me once again to lead this board. We are a small but mighty board, and I'm fully confident in our work together, thanks really to your commitment and the strengths each of you bring to the table. All of us have our own individual lives, struggles, and day jobs, but we come together for 2 Tuesdays out of every month for a common purpose: to give back to this community that wants to have great, equitable public schools. Ms. Billiou, I want to extend to you a warm welcome. I'm excited for your perspective, lived experience, and energy. And to our new student representatives, please know that we want to hear from you and that your voice is highly valued. Each year that I've been on the board, students have shaped major pieces of our work. From Casco Bay High School students bringing us a proposal to go solar, which we did, to a former student spurring our new harassment, discrimination, and sexual harassment policy and procedures, to former student representative Joseph Inabanza influencing our decisions around school resource officers and school discipline, student discipline, to Emily Chung, our Deering representative for the past year, shaping our thinking about learning amid the pandemic. I look forward to getting to know each of you. Please reach out anytime. I want to hear from you. Looking at the year ahead of us, even before the Omicron variant, we were already seeing an increase in COVID-19 cases in our schools as cases surge across the state and much of the country. We know we're in for another challenging year, keeping our students, staff, and communities safe and our students learning. But it's also a year of opportunities. We will this year hold our first ever participatory budgeting process to help decide how to invest remaining federal COVID funds in equity programs and initiatives. And now that we have developed recommendations for the Charter Commission that would make our municipal government more democratic and participatory and put the board on a more equal footing with the City Council, it's up to us to build support for our proposals among the commissioners and the public. The changes we've recommended would put our school district on a better footing for years to come. And then we have work ahead on the budget and policies to help enable Superintendent Batana and his team to achieve the 4 2021-2022 district teaching and learning priorities that they have set. First on achievement and equity is strengthening core instruction. Next on whole student and equity is creating safer and more equitable schools where students can feel a sense of belonging and connection. Then on people, meaning our staff, and equity is supporting student needs with a professional learning culture. And lastly, on operational supports is allowing effective school operations. I'm excited about all this board can achieve this year and look forward to working with all stakeholders to find solutions, build on our strengths and successes, have high expectations for our students, support the many great educators and administrators in our buildings, and remain strong partners with the superintendent as we navigate the road ahead. All of this work will take understanding our school district as it is now, as we work to create the anti-racist district it should be. I am full of optimism thanks to you and our diverse community that truly values public education. I'm grateful to live in this community, to send my children to our schools, to represent my community on the school board, and now to serve a second year as chair of this board. Thank you for this great honor. I can't wait to see what we will accomplish together. Now let's get to work. Thank you and good night. I guess it's not really night yet, but it is dark out at 4:51. So with that, we are ready to adjourn. Our next meeting is tomorrow, December 7th at 6 p.m. We are meeting in person at Casco Bay High School, and staff and members of the public can join us on Zoom. The agenda can be found on the Portland Public Schools Board Docs webpage. Is there a motion to adjourn the 2021-2022 Portland Board of Education inauguration?
I move.
Ms.
Second.
Bondo. And who is the second?
Mr. Youssef.
Thank you, Ms. Bondo and Mr. Youssef. Just with a show of hands, all in favor? With that, it is unanimous. We are adjourned at 4:52 p.m. Congratulations, everyone. Thank you so much, and I so look forward to our work together over the coming year.